Hey folks, Nuffenschwander here with another Dark Souls 3 commentary. Now, I know, I said in my video about the state of invasions in Dark Souls 3 that I will not make an MLG montage of me ending a dozen gank squads while omitting the several dozen more times I got spawn raped by the host, 2 or 3 phantoms and an auto-summoned blue, because I don't want to give anyone the illusion that invasions are anywhere near functional as a balancing factor for the huge boon that is summoning other players for help. I know that in the first few weeks or months after the release of Dark Souls 2, we also complained that shit is too tough and that the odds are stacked too heavily in favor of the host. And even though that was the case in principle, we still had means to overcome those odds, namely an actually functional poise system and a usable backstab system. In Dark Souls 3, however, pretty much anything that allowed experienced players in the past to deal with a higher number of players has been taken away. No poise, practically no backstabs, no way of meaningfully increased defenses against certain damage types, close to no advanced techniques. And yet invaders are thrown into 3v1 or even 4v1 situations on a regular basis. From please. So again, I originally wanted to abstain from even trying to spank ganks like I did in the past 2 Dark Souls games, not to speak about making videos about it. And well, here we are, with me talking over a selection of clips showing me spanking those ganks. Well, for the most part, I think I do have 1 or 2 losses in here. I want to emphasize, however, that I do not do this because I want to impress random internet strangers with my, admittedly, hugely dimensioned e-genital. Well, I kinda do, but that is not really the reason for me making this video. Let me explain. When I started out with the Souls games back in 2012, Dark Souls 1, and slowly started to get into the PvP, gankers in the forest and the township were a huge issue for me. I just couldn't defeat a single one. So I started looking on YouTube on how to do it and found someone many of us know from those times probably. Martyrs Brigade 99 or J Blackmail on YouTube. That dude really was high speed at the time with his videos in which he spanked gank after gank in the forest. And with the state of invasions in Dark Souls 3, I was highly anticipating to see and hear what he would do in that context. Suffice it to say, I was quite a bit heartbroken to hear him say that he probably won't be invading much in this game, and that he thinks the situation in this game for invaders is simply too stupid to even try. I mean, that corresponds mostly with how I feel about things, but it was still sad to hear this old gank spank legend just throw his hands in the air and go, fuck it, what's the point? He did say, however, that he enjoys watching gank spank videos of other uploaders, like Eddie Ghost for example, and that those give him hope and may even lead to him trying his hands at it too at some time. This is not directly the reason for me making this video. I do not aim to give him hope and make him return to spanking ganks by showing myself do it. But what he said did make me think. Is my fatalistic and negative approach correct in that regard? What particularly gave me food for thought was that he said that he never had an issue with showing losses in duels, but in his gank spank videos, he always, or for the most part, just showed his wins, not because he wanted to look good for the YouTubes, but because he wanted to show people that it is possible. And I kinda agree with that. I would even add that in this context, it is absolutely fine doing so, because losing a 3v1 or a 4v1 is nothing special. It's nothing the gank squad can be proud of, and neither is it something an invader should be ashamed about. But winning a 3v1 or a 4v1 is something special, particularly in Dark Souls 3, and it deserves to be shown. If, instead of burying our heads in the sand, we go out there, do our best, and put our achievements out there for the world to see, maybe we all can get better at it, and can better deal with the cards we're dealt. Frankly, I don't know. But I want to end my negativity in that regard. And as always, I play the game that is provided, and I do my best to be successful. And thus, I decided to completely eat my own words and make at least this one video on the topic of spanking those pesky ganks. Now that we have that out of the way, I want to get to the actual topic of this video, because I will post this video on Reddit, and I already know what some people are going to say after downloading my post and my comment history on at least 2 pages. They are going to say, "Oh my god, those are not ganks. You're invading. Those are simply innocent PvE players who only want their carefree PvE experience and don't want anything to do with you filthy PvPer. Go put down a red sign, and when you get summoned and attacked by a group of players, then you can cry Gank Squad." I see this ridiculous nonsense literally every single time a video like this is posted, and instead of ignoring this noise, like I probably should, I want to take the opportunity of this video to address this. For that purpose, I deliberately choose the Kiln as the setting of my video, since it plays into my hands very clearly with regard to the points I'm going to make. But before I come to that, let's see what the term ganking actually is. The term has origins both in hip-hop as well as MMO games, and at its core it refers to a group of people deliberately ganging up on a lower number of people, usually 1, to kill them. And since invaders trespass into the host's world, a lot of people can't fathom how you could call it ganking when the host then kills the invader with the help of his summoned phantoms. It's just self-defense, isn't it? And yes, that is actually true. And in situations where this is clearly the case, I think most of even the most avid invaders wouldn't call that a gank squad. Obobobo, for example, calls those situations gongs to signify that the aspect of deliberation behind the act of killing the invader is not there. Thus, they aren't gankers. And even though what they are doing is technically still gang killing and thus can be called ganking, I understand and agree somewhat with the differentiation between ganks and gongs and often use it myself. But anyone who invades a lot will soon notice that things aren't as clear as people seem to think they are. Particularly this notion of the innocent PvE noob princess who only wants his carefree PvE experience with a bit of co-op and who wants to avoid PvP at all costs is quite a far cry from reality. Apart from the fact that this is not a valid point in itself, because the chance of being invaded is the balancing factor for the huge help that summoned phantoms gives you. In my experience, the innocent PvE and co-op noob is in fact a very, very rare thing. And therefore you can with good right call many people who are invaded straight up gankers. And as I said, my play session in the Kiln shows very nicely what I mean. First off, there are instances in this video where you can clearly see that those are groups of people who absolutely do not ever intend to go fight the boss. Some of them are there for hours, waiting at the spawn points of invaders and killing everything that comes into the world. They are certainly not there to avoid PvP. They are there because they want blood. They want to fight, but they only want to do it as long as the odds are in their favor. Some of them do it because they are bad at the game and can't win on their own. Some of them do it because they want to get a reaction out of people. Some of them simply have fun doing it. And some want to teach the evil invaders a lesson and discourage them from continuing invading. And everything apart from the last motivation is fine. If you can't win otherwise and don't want to practice, if you feel like trolling other people, or if you simply have fun killing reds and purples together with your friends, go ahead and gank your socks off. It's fine. The game allows it. You're doing nothing wrong, and many uploaders will in fact be thankful for what you're doing, because we can cut out our losses against you while still showing our wins, because it is an actual achievement for a single person to win against many. You, meanwhile, won't get much admiration by showing your achievements, because there is nothing special about a group of 3 or 4 people deliberately ganging up on 1 or maximum 2 people and beating the shit out of them. In most contexts, we call that cowardice, and rightly so. So again, there is nothing wrong with that kind of ganking, but I hope we can all agree that this is nothing else but ganking in the full sense of the word. They are not there for the PvE. They are not there for the co-op experience. They are there for PvP, but like I said, a form of PvP that can easily get them wins. But this is not the only form of ganking you will find in the game. And the kiln in which all those fights take place in this video show this very clearly. A big number of players here is actually there to fight the boss, and not originally to PvP. So when those players gang up on you as an invader to kill you, they can't possibly be gankers, right? I mean, they are totally innocent PvE noob flowers who don't want anything to do with PvP, but you evil, evil man force it on them. But if that is the case, why is it that so many people who really are there to fight the boss will turn around and come running at you all the way from the boss fog gate when you spawn near the bonfire? I mean, they cleared the level. They are at the boss fog. Apparently, they don't want to PvP. So why don't they go through the fog gate? Why don't they ignore the invader that can't reach them anyway? Why are they actively seeking out PvP when so many people say that people like those don't want to PvP? Let us just be clear about this. The innocent PvE noob that Reddit likes to bring up so much in this context is a very, very rare species. I would almost say that they do not exist, and those who do exist either play offline or you never meet them to begin with, because they went through the fog gate, at least here in the kiln, with all their phantoms, long before you had a chance to invade them, or the second you invade them. There is no reason for those players to turn around and hunt the invader down other than sheer bloodlust. They have cleared the level. They don't get anything from killing you. The few hundred or few thousand souls they get for killing you is less than you get for playing PvE for 30 seconds. And it's not just a thing in the kiln. Here it's just the most obvious. I talked about this on my stream a few times. So many times you will come across players who are obviously not very good at PvPing, and therefore you might think they want to avoid PvP. But why is it then that so few of them simply run to the boss fog and boot you out of the world? You may say it's because they don't know they can, but the thing is, when they are alone, they usually do that. But if they see just one summoning sign, they will go out of their way to get that summon in to kill you, often immediately afterwards crystalling them out again, because they just wanted help to kill the invader. Again, that doesn't seem to me at all like someone who wants to avoid PvP. That looks an awful lot like people who damn well want to PvP, but only if they have a clear advantage, which is fine. But when they deliberately seek ways to kill you as a group, well, that neatly brings us back to our starting point of what ganking is. That is the reason why uploaders like me will forever keep calling those situations ganks. It's something else when you happen upon a co-op group in the middle of an area surrounded by mobs and you put yourself into their way to the boss fog. What else are they supposed to do other than trying their best to get rid of you? Not a gank, simply self-defense. In all other cases, when they deliberately turn around to kill you, damn son, we got a gank on our hands. A straight up gank. Nothing more, nothing less. And I just want to repeat, when I say those hosts I invade, who deliberately come at me with their phantoms without any other reason than sheer bloodlust, are full-blown gankers, I do not mean in any way that they are doing something wrong. They do not. What they are doing is a perfectly fine way to play the game. But please, for the love of fuck, let us all be reasonable adults here and call those player groups what they are. Gankers. To conclude my rant about this topic that is as old as the invasion and co-op mechanics that caused the issue in the first place, I want to prophylactically address a potential objection. That objection goes, no, they indeed don't want to deal with the forced PvP in Souls games, and they hunt you down to teach you a lesson and to discourage you from invading. Two things about that. A, that changes nothing about the fact that they are ganking. They just do it for some particular reason. And B, that is a terrible reason. There is simply no good reason to try and discourage people from invading, just like there is no good reason to discourage people from co-oping. From lurking on Reddit a lot, I have observed a very unfortunate development in the community, where players will tell posters who say they are co-opers that they are not playing the game correctly. You are supposed to play it solo, and when you progress through the game and defeat bosses with the help of other players, that is all invalid and you should feel bad about yourself. Are you fucking kidding me? Co-op as well as invasions have been part of the Souls series ever since the first iteration, Demon's Souls. Both are central and defining game mechanics that are a huge part of what made those games as successful as they are now. And using those mechanics, if you're co-oping or invading, is not playing those games in an incorrect way. It's the absolute correct way. People love those unique multiplayer aspects of the Souls games, and if they weren't there, the longevity of them would not even be close to what it is right now. If you have an issue with people co-oping or invading, maybe you want to play one of the several thousands of action role-playing games that are out there that do not have such mechanics. And if you don't want to deal with them but still want to have the Souls PvE experience, play them offline. But don't you dare tell other people how to play the game. And don't you dare discourage other people from using mechanics that the game offers, be it co-op or invasions. And to those of you who seriously want the one thing but not the other, fuck off. Seriously. That goes out to all of the invaders who want invasions to be 1v1 honor duels and who get salty when the host doesn't give in to their expectations. But it also goes out to all the people who somehow think they are entitled to get their carefree co-op experience without having to face invaders. Who say that invaders harass them as if they represented something that should not be in the game, who somehow exploit a glitch to grieve other players. No dude, that's not how it works. You don't get a carefree anything in Souls games. You want co-op? You get invasions. Invaders are not an annoyance that shouldn't be there. They always played an important role both in the lore of the Souls games as well as mechanically as a way to balance out the fact that having one or more players in your world to help you makes the game significantly easier. just like in real life, you can't have the cake and eat it too. Sorry. When I say the people you see in this video and who I invaded are ganking, I mean they are ganking because that is what they are doing. And I hope I was able to make clear what I mean by that. However, and for the last time, I do not mean to say they are doing something wrong and that they should not do that. A Souls game without ganks to spank would be a very, very sad thing indeed. It would just be nice if the game mechanics allowed invaders to do their job better than they do now in Dark Souls 3. I personally will continue to face the odds, as frustrating and salt-inducing as it might be sometimes. Souls multiplayer is one hell of a place to be. Let's all just enjoy it without getting into each other's hair constantly about semantics of terms, alright? Have a good one, folks. See ya.